Welcome to the Ultimate T Visa Guide. The T Visa is an excellent way to get a green card because it allows you to get legal status even if you enter the country illegally or even if you have a prior deportation order, and it allows you to get a green card inside the United States without having to leave. It is also one of the best choices for an application, especially if you do not have any U.S. citizen relatives to depend on for getting you a green card. And once you are approved for a T visa, you are automatically granted a work permit, and any old deportation orders that you already have are considered to be rescinded by operation of law, and it puts you on a pathway to citizenship. You can even help adjust the status of family members either inside the United States or outside the United States as well. But what exactly is a T visa and how can you qualify for one? How do you apply for it? And what can you do to increase your chances of getting your application approved? Keep watching because we are going to answer all of these questions. My name is Moumita Rahman, and I have been practicing immigration law for the past 13 years. If you would like my help on your case, give us a call at 212-248-7907 to schedule a case evaluation. We are based in New York and we work with immigration clients all over the United States. So what is a T visa and how can someone qualify to get approved? The T visa stands for T for trafficking, but it is not exactly what you might consider to be trafficking in the traditional sense. When it comes to immigration, trafficking stands for when a person is forced to provide labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. And this can mean false promises, this can mean threats to physical safety, or threats of getting deported or being reported to the police if an immigrant doesn't do what the employer says. But here is a special twist. The T visa can also apply to situations where you may not be paid through work because you're not employed, but rather your domestic partner, boyfriend, or your husband or wife or girlfriend is the one instead that gets this labor or service out of you. The T visa is also possible for persons who have been forced into prostitution or into providing other commercialized sex acts, but I will focus a little bit more on what is actually a little bit more common and less well known, which is labor trafficking. Some examples of labor trafficking include if your partner tells you to come to the United States and tells you that you'll have a good life together, but instead, when you get here, you end up serving them day and night, hand and foot, to cook their meals, clean the house, and provide all other sorts of domestic chores. The T visa can also be possible if you take a job with an employer who promises you a certain pay rate and to have a good job and possibly even a work visa. But when you get here, you essentially become servant, almost treated like a slave, and you end up doing a lot of work for which you are not paid properly and are exploited instead. Also, if you came to the United States and you took a job as a domestic worker or a nanny and you end up providing a lot more service to that family than what you expected or what you were promised, then this may also end up being a trafficking situation. Sometimes your partner or an employer might tell you that you owe them money for a debt, either for being brought into the country or for working in that job. If you end up working to pay off that debt, that may also be a trafficking situation. And lastly, another situation that is much more common that people don't even realize is if the person that you work with threatens to report you to immigration or tells you that you will get in trouble with the IRS or that they will blacklist you so that you can't get another job in town. Believe it or not, these can also give rise to a trafficking situation and help you get a green card. These are just some examples of what situations may end up helping you qualify for a T visa. And doubtless, there are a lot more. So if you think that you have been in a situation like this, please give some serious consideration to the T visa. There are some other additional requirements for the T visa, and one of them is the requirement of reporting what you have gone through to law enforcement agencies. But even though this sounds scary, in reality, what it usually requires is that you inform either the police or the Department of Labor or some other law enforcement agency that may be able to investigate with this situation. And even if the law enforcement agency itself does not find that you were the victim of human trafficking, and even if they do not give you a signed certification, that still does not prevent you from getting approved by USCIS for a T visa, which is fabulous and wonderful news for anyone who has ever been the victim of human trafficking. The third requirement is that you must show that you are still inside the United States on account of human trafficking. This means either that you were brought into the United States as a result of your human trafficking, or that you are still inside the United States as a result of what you have suffered. Really, what happens for a lot of people is that the human trafficking situation arises well after they arrived to the United States. So how can you actually show that you are still inside the United States on account of trafficking if your trafficking situation happens 10 or 20 years after you get to the US, or even if you were brought into the United States as a result of trafficking and your entry into the US happened that many years ago as well? Some of the ways that we can help show this is to show if you are still suffering psychological or physical problems as a result of the trafficking, you still require access to the legal systems in the United States in order to get justice from your traffickers, or you are still cooperating with law enforcement regarding your trafficking situations. And lastly, you must show that you would suffer extreme hardship if you were removed from the US and forced to return to your home country. And again, this can be shown through a variety of ways. So even if you think you can't show extreme hardship or show why you are still in the US, don't worry. This is actually a job for your attorneys to figure out to make that legal arguments. What I recommend is always to get in touch with an experienced immigration attorney to help you prove your trafficking case, because when there is one requirement that is met, we work together to make sure that all of the other requirements can also be proven. Now that we know how to qualify for a T visa case, how do you apply? Normally, the T visa cases require the form I-914, which is the application for T Nonimmigrant Status. And along with this case, just like with VAWA applications, one of the most important components of the T visa case is your personal affidavit. Your personal affidavit must be crafted in a specific way to highlight the instances of human trafficking, which really needs to focus on the exchange of labor and services underneath threat or compulsion by your domestic partner or by your employer. Also, you do have to include proof that you have reported your trafficking situation to the law enforcement authorities, and you have to provide proof that you would suffer extreme hardship if you were removed. And lastly, every person most likely is inadmissible to the United States. So along with your T visa application, another really important form to include is the I-192, permission to enter as a non-immigrant. And if the law enforcement agency happens to give you a certification, it would be on the form I-914B, and you can also include that with your application. Although, like I mentioned earlier, it is not required for you to get a certification in order to be approved for your case. While there is no fee for the form I-914, there is a fee currently at $930 for the form I-192, advance permission to enter as a non-immigrant. And this is definitely something you need to file if you are out of status, your visa expired, or if you have other issues that might make you ineligible in general to get a green card. Lastly, one of the most important things for you to note is that you cannot apply for the T visa if you are not inside the United States. You must still be in the United States, and if you have left the US after your trafficking situation arose and you came back to the United States, you may no longer be eligible to apply for the T visa unless you have also suffered as a result of more trafficking or a new trafficking situation. As of right now, T visa applications are to be mailed to the Vermont Service Center, and I'll include a link to the filing instruction pages right here in this video. So once your application is filed, USCIS will send you a receipt and may also ask you to appear for biometrics. As of the date of this recording, the average processing time for a T visa is approximately 18 months or a year and a half, which is actually really fast these days compared to other immigration applications. Once USCIS does make a decision and they approve your case, you will receive a work permit for the T visa status, and you will be on your way to starting to qualify for the green card. So what happens after you get approved for your T visa? Well, you are now legally allowed to be inside the United States. You are now legally allowed to work, and you will also get a social security card. You will become eligible to apply for a green card and legal permanent residency after a period of 3 years has elapsed, unless the Department of Justice gives you a special authorization to file for residency even sooner. Please understand that there is no automatic right to travel internationally with the approval of the T visa. So if you do need to travel, please contact your attorney to make plans and to understand the ramifications. So why do I work on T visa cases? I really believe that working on the T visa case will give immigrants some form of power back and help them understand that what they have gone through as an immigrant does not define them, and that there is hope ahead to get their lives back on the track that they wanted to be on when they first came to the United States. If you feel that this has been your situation, please do give us a call at 212-248-7907 so that we can take a look at your case and let you know if you might possibly qualify and help you move forward with your immigration journey. And if you would like to learn more about trafficking situations, watch this video next about a nanny who worked for her family for 30 years without ever leaving the country. In this video, I react to the story of Elena, an immigrant from the Philippines who worked as a domestic worker for one family for over 30 years. I'll include a link to that video here, and I'll see you there.